Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where today we're going to be talking about all the latest Doctor Who news, or at the very least, most of it. I may miss some things because, my god, they've been releasing a lot of stuff today. But we're going to be talking about some of the new 60th details and sort of future stuff to do with RTD2, released via SFX. You're going to be hearing my thoughts on Tales of the TARDIS, and we're going to be talking about another Series 15 guest star that's seemingly been confirmed. But before we get into all of that, do me a favour and subscribe if you're new. That'd be greatly appreciated. We're trying to get to 23,000 subscribers before the 60th, because that's the date of the 60th. I doubt we'll do it. Even if not, though, subscribing helps me out a ton. It's free and you can always unsubscribe if you no longer enjoy the content. But with that said, let's get into the video. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about Tales of the TARDIS. Now obviously, this just dropped last night, so there will be some spoilers for Tales of the TARDIS. If you are sensitive to that sort of thing, feel free to skip to the next part of this video where I'll be discussing other news. I do want to talk about it because I really enjoyed it. Tales of the TARDIS is essentially omnibus episodes of classic Doctor Who that include new, specially filmed inserts at the start and end of episodes to kind of link them together. So you've got 5 minutes at the start, 5 minutes at the end of old characters discussing their adventures with the Doctor, and essentially the narrative framing device is for this, that they are in what is called a memory TARDIS, a TARDIS that is composed of and kind of runs off of memory. The whole idea is that this TARDIS encourages its inhabitants to relive their past experiences, which I really love as a concept, and I think it's the sort of thing that's perfect for a little anniversary mini thing. Particular standout episodes for me were definitely the Curse of Fenric 7th Doctor one, as well as the Three Doctors one with Clyde Langer and Jo Grant, especially because they only went and confirmed that Clyde and Rani did have a thing. I've always suspected that was the case, so it was nice to have that confirmed in this. And I really liked the 7 and 8 one because they actually had the conversation that I was kind of missing in Power of the Doctor, where 7 actually does say, you know, I did kind of manipulate you, and I'm sorry for that. And I really liked that. I really liked that they acknowledged that. But all of them are great. I also loved the way that they handled Jamie and Zoe memory wipe. Obviously, essentially the way this works is that this kind of TARDIS allows them to restore their memories, and essentially, if they ever want to return to this place, return to this world of Doctor Who, they just have to remember their adventures, and they can return to this little space to talk about their times together, which was really nice, I thought. And you even get, like, some surprise things, like, for example, at the very end of the Jo Grant one, again, spoilers, you have her wishing for her husband to come back, Cliff, who I think the actor recently passed, and you sort of see him in silhouette off screen, and then in another, Stephen and Vicky wish to see the Doctor, and you hear him laugh off screen. It's nice, it's very well done, very tasteful, there's references aplenty, but also the characters feel super authentic to how they would always be. I really quite liked how playful the Fifth Doctor and Tegan were in particular, because often in the 80s I felt that the dynamics could be somewhat strained, you know what I mean? And the same goes for Perry and Six, in fact, probably even more so. So it was nice to see them just enjoy each other's company. That was a nice thing to see. We've had like a few different people writing these. Phil Ford, RTD, and Pete McTeague. He did the collection box sets. And that's essentially what these are. They're basically extended collection box set, like mini episode things. And they really are cool for an anniversary. They really work. I really like the intro as well. That's really cool. Yeah, these are super duper fun. I'd suggest if you're already familiar with the stories that they're talking about, do what I did and maybe start with doing them top and tail, because obviously 5 minutes of new content at the beginning, 5 minutes at the end, and then the episodes in between. So a lot of people have just done 5 minutes at the start, 5 minutes at the end for each one, which actually does equate to about 60 minutes of new footage with all these different actors, which is very fun. I mean, that's almost an anniversary in and of itself. But yeah, it's thoroughly enjoyable. Seeing these guys on screen together was absolutely wonderful. And the set as well, I've got to say, I was a bit like skeptical of it at first, because obviously it is like an amalgam of all these different TARDISes, but it surprisingly comes together to create this really cozy, like warm atmosphere. I really, really like it. Tales of the TARDIS is on BBC iPlayer now if you're in the UK. Like I say, hopefully there'll be a way to watch it internationally eventually, but yeah, it's one of those things that fits right in for a 60th anniversary, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. First up, obviously following on from last night, we had the BBC Newsnight Doctor Who segment talking about the political integration of themes into Doctor Who. Really, really interesting segment, hosted by Toby Hadoke. Really, really interesting stuff. Like a 5-minute long segment. Nice. It also had Andrew Cartmel and Stephen Moffat in there as well. So, yeah, it was a very, very entertaining segment. Of course, you'll all be aware that today launches SFX Magazine's Doctor Who special. This features 28 pages of coverage, so obviously I'm not going to go over all of this. I have read some of it myself. I bought it digitally and I'm waiting for my physical copy to arrive because I pre-ordered it. But we are going to go over a couple of things that have been shared publicly. Although I want to say, just to clarify, like I do when I cover any magazine, go out and support the magazine. I've bought it twice. And it is genuinely a really good magazine with some really, really interesting info. And even some of the stuff that's been posted on Twitter doesn't give you quite the full story. So yeah, go and pick that up if you want to hear more. Darren Scott did a wonderful job. But the first thing I want to talk about, which is something that a lot of people have kind of been discussing, is Russell T Davies officially confirmed that Series 14 will actually be referred to as Season 1. The New Who era is now over. This is from William Who. And then the source is here. So I'll read this little segment. Oh, we're not supposed to say redacted, are we? In reference to when the show is releasing. Next year, Season 1. Yes, we're calling it Season 1. We'll let you catch your breath. We imagine there's a collective gasp, a clutching of anoraks, a seizing of sonics. Not Series 14, not Season 40. Controversial. Davis chuckles at our geekery. What fun that is to be controversial. So yeah, predictably, a lot of people have their takes on this. I've seen a lot of people say it feels unnecessary, and a lot of people kind of getting annoyed at the idea of this, because obviously it's another series reset. Personally, for me, I don't really care what the series is called. I probably will still call it Series 14 in titles and stuff, just so you guys know what I'm referring to. But I think, given the fact that Doctor Who is about to get a huge new international audience, I think starting again with Series 1 kind of does make sense. I mean, it's a lot easier to recommend Series 1 of a show to somebody than Series 14. That's just the long and short of it. That seems to confirm to me that what people were saying about Doctor Who, New Who being 2005 to 2022 was actually a thing. So in the BBC iPlayer now, there'll probably be a third pillar, which will be this new era, which I'm seeing people dub the Whoniverse era, which I quite like. It's nice. And maybe I'm in the minority on this, but I don't really care what the series is called. As long as they're good, that's all that really matters to me. Something that is a bit more controversial, though, is that Russell T Davies confirmed he will not undo the Timeless Children. Speaking to SFX Magazine for their new issue out today, Davies said, "Let's stare that question right in the eye. I'm not going to unwrite my good friend Chris Chibnall's work on the Timeless Children. I'm not going to deny what he wrote. I'm going with it. It's absolutely fine." He also does go on to say, it's happened, it broadcasts, we can't unwrite things. So this is interesting because obviously it does confirm that the Timeless Child will still be canon, which I know for a lot of people, they were hoping for a retcon. To be honest with you, I wasn't expecting one. If you remember a while ago, I spoke about how it was referred to in the Doctor Who Annual, where it said, for some people, it started with an old man in the junkyard. For others, it started with the Timeless Child. I personally think that's a nice way of looking at it. If you don't want to acknowledge the Timeless Child, you don't have to, but it is canon for those who did enjoy it, because there are people who enjoyed it. And I think as well, a lot of people are taking this to mean that it will be continued narratively. I don't really think it will. I think it's more just a case of he's not going to go out of his way to stop an episode and go, guys, that thing from a while ago, yeah, that didn't happen. Which, to be honest, I'm kind of glad about, because I didn't really want the show to get hung up on its own past continuity for this new era. Obviously, have callbacks, absolutely, but I didn't want them to do a whole thing about decanonizing the Timeless Child, because personally, I want this era to be accessible to people, and if that means just ignoring it and moving on, I'm kind of here for it. In other news though, Russell T Davies has given an update on Series 4 of his new run. Speaking again to SFX, Davies said, "I'm planning Season 3 now, there's plans for Season 4, absolutely who knows, who knows. I'm not getting any younger." He's staying for at least 4 series, which we've kind of known for a while now. I am curious, genuinely, to see how long he stays for, but I am glad he's here for the foreseeable future. He very much seems to view himself as someone who's taking care of Doctor Who in this new streaming era, which I think is a very good way to look at him, because Doctor Who is in a different landscape now with Disney Plus than it was even with the Chris Chibnall era, you know? The industry is adapting fast, and I'm glad there's someone like RTD there to kind of shepherd Doctor Who into that new frontier. Excitingly though, Russell T Davies has officially confirmed spin-offs. I believe this is the first time from the horse's mouth since he became showrunner again that he has outright confirmed, yeah, spin-offs are happening. SFX Magazine quote again, speaking to SFX, Davies said, "The numbers have gone down over the years." This is in reference to episode counts for series, partly because it's so expensive. "I don't think we could make more episodes a year, but equally, I think spin-offs will allow more episodes per year, but it's early days, we need to work out production-wise how and when, plus our studios are full." So yeah, he did say there are plans for spin-offs in Out of Effect. It's more so just working out the logistics of it, which is incredibly exciting. He also did mention in the full article, some of the ones that have been speculated about in like the newspapers aren't true. I'm wondering if that's referring to the unit spin-off, and that's not something that he planned, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. David Tennant gave a quote to SFX on the topic of him possibly returning again, saying, "I think it would be disingenuous to imagine that I might never be asked again, because history would indicate that there's always a possibility. So I'm not going to say never, because I don't think anyone would believe me. That doesn't mean I know that I ever will, but I suppose until I can't run down a corridor, it's always a possibility. But I promise to have no plans." To me, when I read this, I just thought, see you in 10 years, David. It's like a little tradition now, but I'm here for it. You know, I really respect David's dedication to returning to the show. Speaking to Radio Times, Scott Hancock, who was the producer of Tales of the TARDIS, said, with regards to any future Tales of the TARDIS installments, "You know, we've got an entire archive to exploit, and there are so many brilliant characters, because it wouldn't have to necessarily be doctors and companions. You could have, I don't know, Simon Williams pop out and recall Remembrance of the Daleks." So yeah, it does seem to be that there are more kind of, I guess, ideas for Tales of the TARDIS. I personally would just love one of these, but with the ponds. Do that for me, Russell, and I'll marry you. I'll love you forever. That's all I want. That's all I want. But yeah, I'd love to see more of these. I think they're a really cool way of kind of giving old stories new life. I think they're really fun, and they're obviously not overly expensive to do, but for fans, they're like huge and they're exciting and really, really fun times. And as well, we kind of get to have our cake and eat it too, because I've kind of said this before, when it comes to people wanting classic Doctors in anniversaries, that gets harder and harder every year, because in the nicest way possible, the casual audience that Doctor Who's trying to appeal to doesn't remember all of the classic Doctors, but we all do. So having it be a separate thing that we all get to enjoy, and then having the anniversary be centered around, you know, more universally known iconography and a new Doctor as well. So I think that makes sense. I think that's a good way of approaching it. We also got another SFX image of David Tennant looking absolutely wonderful, my god. Yeah, there's been quite a few exclusive images in SFX's coverage, which I won't be sharing here, but very, very exciting stuff. Oh, we're so close now. I actually can't believe it. Finally, filming is still ongoing for the Series 15 Christmas special, and it looks like we have another guest star confirmation. This time, it's Nicola Colgan from Derry Girls. Doctor Who filming locations believes to have seen them in filming very recently in this clip. Obviously, it's not 100% confirmed that it is her, but that's very cool. I can't say I personally have watched Derry Girls. I know, I apologise, but apparently she's really good in it. I've seen some people speculate about the idea of her being a companion, because we've not seen Millie Gibson for Series 15 stuff yet. Personally, I'm not too sure about that, but I would like to see her be a recurring character. That'd be fun. But that's about all I wanted to cover today. If I did miss anything, obviously I'll try and get to it in a future video, but you must understand there's been so much going on that I might miss some things. But just know that I'm incredibly excited. Doctor Who is back. What a time to be a Doctor Who fan. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. What was your favourite Tales of the TARDIS installment? Actually, I'm really curious about that. What do you think about any of the news we discussed today? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.